Hi there, and welcome to the fifth in the series of 4th of July missions, and this is fish tag coordinates 5. I'm doing this slightly out of order for reasons I will explain in a minute, but as you can see, we are at Pike Alley in St Croix, going for the historic muskie, and as you will see shortly, the first fish I got into with the setup for the muskie, which is the striped jerkbait on the 6/0, was a very nice uni northern pike. Not an enormous one, but quite good. And that leads me on to a bit more of an explanation of how I was sort of doing this. Because of the cost involved in travelling around for all of these missions, sometimes having to go twice to the same place or even 3 times, I did 2 things. First of all, where it was somewhere like St Croix, which is expensive, I tried to do a bit of farming while I was there, and you can actually see I've got the rod stand out there with I had a bottom rod and a float rod as well, catching pike. And the other thing that I've done is group them together. So I needed to get muskie here, and I needed to get the white bass here as well, so hence why this is slightly out of order in terms of the list on the left hand side. However, you do get to see me catch the final fish of all of the groups, as with all the other videos. So basically what I'm doing, I am sitting at Pike Alley, and I've got the rod stand out with a couple of rods, as I say, float and the bottom rod catching northern pike. And actually this rig, the striped jerkbait on the Thetis, will bring you in quite a lot of northern pikes and muskies anyway. It'll bring you in the big uni muskie, and it'll bring northern pike. What you tend to find is if you catch anything above 20 metres, i.e. further out, then you're likely to get the muskie, and if it's further in, within 20 metres, then you're likely to pick up the northern pike. And as you can see, the requirement on this one is only for 2 fish, so you only need to get 2 of the historic muskie. And as you can see, I'd already got the first, so that one ticks that off the list. And as you saw there, it adds another one on the bottom because there are 5 to go for on this mission. So that's the second historic muskie. And as you can see there, I've got a couple of other rods that are out, just doing some farming to try and make up the money. And this is just a little northern pike, I think. I've got the Majesty rod there and a bottom rod as well. Just in case you're not familiar with this, this is the corner that we're fishing in. I'll show you on the map picture in a minute. And the normal method for going for the muskie would be from the boat. So I'll just show you where you would normally do that. Again, if you're not familiar with this, which you probably are. So before boats came along, you'd actually stand on the shore on the left-hand side of the picture and cast around the reeds, which was a real pain, and you're aiming anywhere over here really, with the setup as you saw. So this is the area that we're fishing in, so that's the area to catch the historic muskie. So we move on now to Quanchkin, where we have to get the historic chain pickerel, and you've got to use the eagle spoon. And to start off with, I got this the wrong way around and was trying to catch it with the grub which is what you need for the shad, the stars and stripes shad, which is the other pickerel, the grass pickerel at Mudwater. But this is what you want here, the eagle spoon, 18 grams on a 3/0, and this is one of my favourite spots because there's three spots in one really, and you can catch good sized chain pickerel in all of them. So basically those are the three spots you can hit from this one particular position, and you can see here that I get one on this spot. This is very good for the frog poppers, particularly because, again, as I was speaking about in the last video, with the frog popper you can go across the weed beds or the lily pads, so the weeds just to the right of where my line is at the moment, you can cast way beyond them and pull through those. So that's a good method for getting the chain pickerel if you're top water fishing, but obviously we're just using the eagle spoon here. So that's the third historic chain pickerel from Quanchkin. And then this is one of the other positions. Again, normally I would be fishing here with the top water lure, either in a tournament or in the Dancing with Pike competition. And again, when you're fishing at this position, you can use a frog popper and go over the top of all these lilies or weeds or whatever in front. So it's not so much of a problem with getting snagged all the time. And you can actually cast right up to that tree with the frog popper, whereas with the spinner, of course, you have to be just a little bit more careful and just bring it a little bit further forward, otherwise you will get snagged in those weeds, because the weeds are directly under the tree and actually on either side of it as well. So again, with the frog popper that's not a problem, but with the eagle spoon you need to be a little bit more careful. The other big problem here, of course, is bowfin, and you will get quite a lot of bowfin. Bowfin is actually also a problem at Mudwater when you come on to the historic grass pickerel. But yeah, so these are the three spots, and as I say, there's the one just behind us as well. So this one here is quite good. I've caught a couple of good unis in this little tiny pond here, or this little area of the waterway. And again, it's better suited really to top water fishing, because you can see we're just pulling through an area where it's weedy, and there we go, we got through it. But you won't always do so. Sometimes you'll get a snag, whereas if you're using frog popper, that's not a problem. So really just want to show you this spot because it's, as I say, really it's three spots in one, and there's a good chance, particularly in tournaments, before I've done quite well here. There are quite a few other places for chain pickerel. There's one on the walkway that's immediately before this one if you walk all the way along it. The closest one to where you actually spawn, when you spawn at the Pelican Hut. I think this looks very much like a bowfin, the way it's splashing in the water. horrible thing. But we'll keep it anyway because we need all the money we can get. I must say I did have to think a bit harder about doing this mission in terms of the logistics of moving around and the cost compared with doing it on my Steam account, which really isn't a problem, and I can pretty much go anywhere on my Steam account with 3.5 million credits. I've only got less than 1/10 of that on this Microsoft account, so I'm just getting to the point where I can go to Blue Crab and make a bit of money there. So there we go, that was the last historic chain pickerel, and that's on the Eagle Spoon on the 3/0 hook. Now the next waterway is another one, that's another example of what I was talking about a few moments ago in terms of planning what you're doing and the order that you do things in. And at San Joaquin, which is where we are, you need to get the steelhead, the historic steelhead, and you can see the area here from the boat dock that you can fish for the steelhead, and then also this area close in. We'll have a look at both, I think, in the video. But the next mission, the fish tag coordinate 6, needs you to get a historic striped bass, and so again I did both of the bits of the missions together in one visit to save travelling again. I still actually had to travel again in the end anyway because of the canoe part, which we'll talk about later, but it did at least save some of the travel. Now the big problem I had with the Arrows Deep Runner, which is what you need to use to get the steelhead, is that the Arrows Deep Runner obviously runs to the bottom, and that's not really what you want to do. You need to be sort of mid-water, and in fact normally you would be probably top-water fishing for the trout here. So again, you can fish from either of these piers, and I caught both fish, both the steelhead trout and the striped bass from both of these positions. And of course, again, as I said in one of the earlier videos, one of the big problems is you'll catch the right fish with the wrong lure and it won't count. So it's just a case of getting through them really. But you can see this is a better position really, even though the runner goes right to the bottom. It's deeper water here than it is just down from the dam, so it does work a bit better. One of the things I sort of did to try and adapt that was to, at the dam part, I managed to catch one steely certainly by just pressing the reel-in button very rapidly and trying to keep the Arrows Deep Runner in mid-water, but to be honest it's quite difficult, so you may just choose to do all of the steelies from this point. So you can see that's a striped bass, which we want for the next mission, but not on this lure. So this is back at just below the Crichton Dam where we were a minute ago, just changing the time a little bit. And this is the area, as I say, you'd normally be going for getting the steelies. And you can see what I'm trying to do there. That's what I was talking about a minute ago. I'm trying to sort of hold it in mid-water. It's ever so difficult because it wants to dive straight down. Even on speed 1, it wants to dive down to the bottom. So just a combination of trying to do a sort of stop-start and then sort of just jigging it on the bottom a bit. Eventually you will get the steelies. I think I've probably got 1 from the pier and 2 from this position. but you will get them, and it's amazing how late they will bite as well, compared with the topwater. Normally with the topwater lure you'd have given up by now, but you can see how close they actually take. So don't give up on them, pull them right in. They'll take up to a few meters from the, away from you. So that's the last of the steelies, and that leaves us with only 2 fish left to get, or 2 lots of fish left to get. And you can see there, that's just to show you the fact that I got some striped bass as well. I actually chucked some of them out because they don't count in terms of money. So, but you can see there's some historic striped bass in there. And I think I got a uni striped bass. Yeah, there's a uni striped bass there as well, and a uni steelhead. So that helped with the credits side of things. So moving on, again slightly out of order. The next one we're looking at is Cannock. And Cannock, you need to use in this mission, the number 5. You need to use the Grizzly Claw bullet spinner to catch the historic Chinook, and you can see I've got one already. I'm using the Thetis and the Leviathan reel, and I was quite pleased really, because up until now I've had problems getting anything strong enough. The Zeus really isn't strong enough for the big Chinook here now. The big Chinook, as you'll see in a minute, here are 30 plus, anything from 27. The unis go right up to 33, I think, 34, and the Zeus simply isn't up to it. But I have been having problems trying to find a rod that will get out there. The Aguero, I think it's called, which I've got on my Steam account, will obviously handle the power, but it won't get out far enough. It won't get the distance. But as you can see, the chasing here is a very large, well, a 27 anyway, I think, uni Chinook salmon. And yeah, that took a bit of wrestling in, but I thought I'd leave it in the video anyway. It's just shows that Grizzly Claw bullet spinner is quite useful. I would probably use it in the Salmon Clash competition as well, for the sockeye at the top of the river. I always use bullet spinners at the top of the river for that competition. And there is an X-Series bullet spinner, which I don't think I've got on this account. I've got it on my other one. But this Grizzly Claw, I think, would work very well there. I may well have used it on my other account. So you can see how hard these unis fight here, if you haven't experienced this before. But this Thetis rod is rated at about 27k, I think, and quite capable of pulling in even the big 30 plus uni Chinooks. So this is really just a little bit of an aside on this video. As you can see, at that point I had caught one of the Chinooks. So yeah, there we go, 27.2. So yeah, that's the area just straight out from the hut. There are a few other areas, and unusually I decided to have a go specifically from this point, because when I do farming here I tend to farm from putting the rod rest down just here and getting sockeye and doing some topwater luring. And where I've just cast to, I often put spawn suck out on a bottom feeder rig, and I've noticed recently I've been getting a lot of Chinook salmon there, so I decided to just have a quick go there as well, and sure enough I got a historic chin there as well, so that was quite a good pull. I should say at this point that of course these fish are, I'm sure, in lots and lots of other places. I'm sure they're pretty much everywhere right way through these missions, so obviously these are just places that I found them, and there are many others of course. That followed that all the way up, because you certainly wouldn't in the normal way get Chinook this far in. You get sockeye and chum and dolly barb and then bull trout and things, but you can see that was the last of the historic Chinook to be knocked off the list. So moving along, this is the biggest mission of the lot because you've got 5 lots of fish to catch. So we're moving on to the historic grass pickerel, which is the last in the order that I did them, and using the stars and stripes shad, 5 centimetre, and I used a jig head 9 gram on a 2. I did debate about that, but I've caught chain pickerel here right up to a 4/0 hook in competitions and tournaments, so I thought it was probably okay to go with the 2. Yeah, this is looking awfully bowfin like, I think. So yet again a horrid little bowfin. Only ever catch them when you don't want to, when you're not in the bowfin competition. This is a good little spot. It's on the canoe side, and again, if you don't know it, it's quite good if you just aim for where those 2 markers are, and then because it's a river, the line will swing around to the left behind the reeds, but that doesn't really matter. And if you just do twitching, as I'm doing there, on a sort of 1 or 2 speed, you'll soon get the grass pickerel. So that's on, as you look at the map, that's on the top right hand side. So that's that point, and this is the other point. So we're going back down this little run and down this channel like we did for the bass in the earlier mission, and we're aiming in the same place, and I think I mentioned at the time that this is one of my favourite places. This was an unusual situation, well, not unusual situation, I've done this before, but it was a case where I actually let the lure sink down, and then I just picked up and instantly picked up a fish, and it's amazing how often that does happen. So if you're really struggling, just try letting it drop to the bottom and just pausing for a minute or 2, and then just picking up, and sometimes you will be lucky and get one. In fact, I think we see that in the next mission at Falcon with the rainbow. So that's the final one of those, and you can see we get 12,000, I think, for that, so that helps the money situation. And you can see that unfortunately the next bit is back at St. Croix, so we need to go back. So you could plan it to end up at St. Croix if you wanted to. Now on this particular video I just wanted to go through, because I hadn't done it on any of the others, the fish tag coordinates bit. So the whole point of the fish tag coordinates, the name of these missions, is that when you get this fish tag, it appears in your specials list, and there is the fish tag, and if you actually look at it, it shows the coordinates, and in fact if you press the information button on the end, it will show you which lake you're supposed to be at, but I knew it was at St. Croix. So if we get the map out and take those coordinates that we just had, it actually brings you down. It's 110 on the first column by 140-ish, I think it was 138. So clearly it's in this little area here, and what you can do if you want to is actually just put a marker there. So in this case, just as an example, I put a marker in, and then you know where you're aiming for when you go to get it. Now you can actually reach this from the shore, so we're standing here and you can actually walk along this shore and do it that way. So it's just over there, so you could actually walk along the shore and hook the canoe. But I remember from last time, seem to remember it being very, very difficult to do that. So I decided to go by boat. So we'll whiz over there very quickly along the shore. The coordinates in each of these cases. So once again we get the spinning rig out. I've had most luck with the jig winner, and try and hook the canoe. And once again, unlike I believe the last time I did this, this seems to happen in 2 stages unless you're lucky. I think the idea is the first message is just to tell you you're in the right spot and doing the right thing, and then the second one, if you're lucky enough to get them in one go, then that's great, but if you're not, then at least it tells you that you're in the right spot. So this is grabbing the relic chest. So this is the end of the 5th mission, and yeah, that's the relic chest got. So yes, look forward to seeing you in the 6th and final mission, and please like and subscribe, and yeah, look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks very much, guys.